Boardroom, Chapter 5, Part C, 6004 BC. As he disembarked from his chariot, the tears that were welling up in his eyes were not those of joy as the angelic throng thought. They were tears of anguish that only he could understand. He alone knew the difference between order and disorder, but he was the God of the universe. If he could not convince less intelligent beings that his way of order and love was the right way, the only way for life preservation, then maybe he was in the wrong line of work. He alone understood his own eternal and perpetual existence. This concept only he could grasp. He had never before created beings with such high intelligence levels. He loved them more than anything, but he also knew this moment would surely come, a moment he dreaded. Why could they not understand that there was no better way? Any other way of life, one without perfect order and harmony, was doomed to fail. As he stepped to the podium, he mobilized every ounce of determination he could and held both hands high to quiet an appreciative throng. In this throng were 30,000 angels. By a vote each, 1,000,000 angel contingent had voted to send a representative to the council, and all 30,000 were here. Of the 30,000, 10 senators were elected by the representatives, and these 10 were seated in the front row of the vast garden amphitheater. Among these were those considered by all angel hierarchy to be the strongest leaders. Belz, short for Beelzebub, was a brash and outspoken senator with sharp features and thick red hair. He wore a gray suit with red stripes and a red and black striped tie accenting his black shirt. Belz always dyed his wings to match his mop. Wings were feathered edges of the angel's arms and could be easily retracted to fit into their suit coat. Belz also sported some vermilion tattoos on his person, including one reading Angel Power. This meeting was broadcast throughout the universe on Morph Vision. It allowed any being to feel like he was right there in the crowd, even though he wasn't. Needless to say, few eyes in all the universe would miss this event. Luke was another of the top 10. He sat quietly in his usual black suit, black shirt, and black tie. His long, dark, wavy hair, done in a long ponytail secured with a gold ring, was as usual perfect, and perfectly accented his dark features with a strong jaw and high forehead. He sat with his head bowed and always appeared to be deep in thought, and most of the time he was. God had called him the most handsome angel he had ever created. Luke outwardly disdained the idea that he was the best looking of all the billions of angels. But in his heart he knew he was the most perfect of Pop's creations, not only in looks but in intelligence. Gabe was a third of the male angel triad, considered the elite of their society. His physique was unsurpassed in all the realm. He retired from the Angel Olympics as he was just too good. Despite his physical prowess and long golden locks, he was thought by many to be the most humble of all angels. He wore his usual white suit with white tie and white shirt. Maria was the most stunning of the top 10 and considered the leader of all female angels. Her platinum hair, very feminine features, and ability to convey sweetness to all she met made her the most admired of all angels. She was more than stunning with a platinum suit and heels. The roar of 10,000 of Pop's subjects finally quieted enough, and he began to speak. I cannot express enough my thanks to all of you for coming here today. You honor me with your presence, and I love you all far more than I can express. The cheers were deafening as he swept back his salty hair, but also a few boos were heard, including one from the redhead in the front row. Though he heard them, he ignored them and continued. I would like today to express my heartfelt thanks for all you do and also attempt to clarify some points that have been brought to my attention by you and a number of your colleagues. Bell stood abruptly and clapped his hands, whistling vociferously. To his chagrin, he was the only one standing. Finally, Luke grabbed his arm and eased him back to his sitting position. I so enjoy someone who cares like that. Laughter erupted from the aroused crowd, and Bill's face soon matched his red hair. It's come to my attention that some of you have been displeased with the moratorium on creation of angels. As you know, it has been lifted. The reason the moratorium was in place for a short time was that I was slowed by my regular construction projects to focus my time on some new life forms and did need additional help. That work is now in its final stages, and my creative work will resume full speed ahead. I will now need more of you to help me in my usual new construction projects. In fact, I may have to accelerate the production of new angels, or the angel factories as you call them. There was again laughter, and he slicked back his hair again to try to stall having to get to the gist of this meeting. I'll keep you all informed as to the progress of all phases of my activities. On another front, there has been extensive discussion amongst you number of angels in regards to angelic capability. As I have told each and every one of you, I created each of you to not only be companions, but also to assist me in the constant work of creation. Many of you have helped complete this very project Mysterium. This planet I consider my crowning work. I likely shall never surpass it either in beauty or creativity. He used the word surpass he rarely used, but knew all would understand. Many stood and applauded as over 300 of these special angels had worked on this very garden planet Mysterium. Ops also made sure to recognize each worker by putting their names on a plaque not only at the project site but in the Hall of Fame located on the planet Peanut, circling the star Legume in Galaxy P 628. I've created each of you as distinct and unique beings, all with varying talents and abilities, something only I can do. As soon as he uttered the words, he wished with all his heart he could have them back, but the damage had been done. The silence in the amphitheater was deafening. Spirit, who was on the podium dressed in an immaculate white suit, jumped to her feet and smoothed the very troubled waters as only she could. Your father is tired today. Please bear with him. What he means to convey to you is that you all are special to him, and he needs every one of you, just as he needs me and Junior. Junior, in his dark blue suit, white shirt, and red and white striped tie, chose to remain seated and stared straight ahead, showing no emotion at what he correctly perceived as a very tight spot his father had created for himself. It was not the first time for such an incident, but Junior also surmised correctly that his father, the omnipotent creator of all things and beings, had every right to blow his own horn. But this sensitive meeting was probably not the best time or place. All three knew this and were now going to pay the price. Your father didn't create you for the fun of it. He needed all your help and even more your companionship, and I refer to each and every one of you in all the universes. He can't bear to be without even one of you. He would rather cease his existence than see one of you missing or even unhappy. His goal is to serve, protect, and support and love all of you. There was no crowd response, so Spirit sat down, sweat beading on her perfect forehead. Junior noticed that his father remained seated, so he rose and walked to the podium. To that end, some of you have come to me with your concerns. I have listened to all and have come up with some solutions for you. Some want more to say in the how and why of creation. You want a bigger part in it. Some want to have less duty and more free time to explore or whatever. And some have wanted freedom to create on their own, to be mini gods, if you will. With each of these wants elicited by Junior, many heads nodded in the affirmative, and a few loud yahs were heard. The redhead on the front row was one of those heard. Well, the three of us on stage here got together and came up with a plan that I'm sure you all will like. We've decided to give each of you an added 2 weeks of vacation time. The place erupted. Junior held up his hands, a big smile on his face. Finally, things cooled down. And to effect this new policy, the angelic creation will accelerate accordingly. To Demetrius, one of the top 10 angels and head of the labor union responsible for the 4 weeks vacation they now had, felt a smile creep onto his face. He stood as he realized some of the cheering was for him. He was a very hard-lying angel, but he had a heart of gold. Both of these qualities were invaluable in the yearly contract negotiations, but to his dismay, he too was realizing an easier life was not enough for some of his followers. Spirit now rose, and for those of you who wish to explore, we will be offering guided tours of some other universes. We will start with C1. Spots will be limited as we cannot deplete our workforce and will be allotted on the basis of seniority. Gabe now stood and applauded. He loved exploring but had little time as he was a top 10 guy. Applause was steady but not loud. Luke still sat with head bowed, offering no response. Junior saw that his best friend was subdued and felt bad for him, but knew the next point would surely jostle him from his seat. He said, "We are also offering a new class at AU, Angel University, on creation science. It will allow you to learn advanced techniques in creation, and when completed, will allow you to utilize your knowledge out in the field. You may be even able to design and create some small projects. We'll have to leave the big stuff to Pops, but it will give those of you who wish new opportunities." Gesturing to Luke, his friend, he said, "I'm sure Luke here will be the first one to sign up." Luke half smiled and nodded, but did not stand. The applause again was moderate, but Junior couldn't understand his brother's lukewarm response. It was Pop's turn. He stood and, fully understanding the response, said, "It is now time for a response from you. You may have 5 minutes to express yourself now, or if there are none wishing to speak, I will entertain any and all questions." Demetrius was the first to stand. Father beckoned him to the podium. He thanked his father for gracious addition of 2 weeks, but queried about further time off, depending on years of service and possible retirement after, say, 1,000 years of work. Pop said he would study it further. Bells then strode to the podium to cheer as he raised his wings in a V. Today our angelic race has won a great victory. I thank our Father for his concessions and urge him to consider many more. The applause drowned out the rest. After 5 minutes he bowed only to the crowd and bounded back to his seat. Maria then got up and announced at the behest of Junior that any female angel would have 1 full year to nurture and train her offspring before sending him or her to university for the mandatory 4 years of training. The applause was even louder and definitely higher pitched. Gabe got up and thanked Father, Spirit, and Junior, and then returned to his seat. Bells then slapped him on the back. "Good going, old boy. We made progress today." He again held his wings in a V. Again there was no response from Luke. The Q&A period lasted several hours. Many were directed at one or the other of the three for clarifications or elaboration. At about the middle of the Q&A, Luke went up to the mic and asked, "You, as our Father, have infinite knowledge. You have created us with great intelligence. The only difference, as I see it, is that you have more knowledge than we. Why not give us more knowledge so that we can function like you and go off and create our own little universes? Then we can run it as we see fit. We high-level angels have the ability to think to the power of 7 or 8. They could think of 7 or 8 subjects simultaneously. Why not give us or let us develop further towards the power of infinity? Then we could all be gods as you and have our complete freedom. We wouldn't bother you." There were multiple murmurings in the affirmative. Pops knew this question was coming, but he also knew he did not have a good answer or one that would satisfy his beloved angels. Even the powerful angelic mind could not understand his own omnipotence and eternal existence. Only he knew what disorder would bring, utter chaos and lovelessness. Spirit and Junior grasped and accepted it, but he alone understood it. It truly was lonely at the top. He thanked Luke for the question and indicated that he would talk to him on the subject later in the week. He invited others to also talk of this, but he knew only Luke would show up. Luke now bowed his head and slowly walked to the outer garden, where he sat and stared blankly into a pool of platinum-flecked water rimmed with roses of indescribable color. As he leaned forward, his wing caught one of the thorns, and a little pool of red blood formed on his wing. He winced, but kept on staring into the pool as Sonoray gleamed brightly on its still surface. Long after all were gone and Mysterium was quiet, Junior stared down from a pool 100 feet above. This pool created a waterfall which filled the pool Luke was seated by. Junior today and only today was beginning to understand what was churning through the mind of his dear friend, his dear brother Luke. Simultaneously tears began to drip from the chins of the two brothers, disturbing ever so slightly the placid serenity of the two pools. Neither had any inkling that these tears were only the beginning of the disturbance.